upon a time, the kind, benevolent ruler decided that he had had enough of the evil being around. And he's like nothing can exist in my kingdom that is not love. And so slowly all of the evil got like coagulated into a big giant blob as it was making its way out of the kingdom by the power of the creed. But then some little jackass kid saw the big blob of evil and was like, I'll love you. And so all of that evil was going to go into the child. And everybody thought that would be a terrible idea, to have it all concentrated into one kid. So decided that they'd all love it a little.
Was because they listened intently to the sermon every week and had small quibbles, and they discussed their quibbles over lunch right after church. And so I listened to them hear the word of God from the man of God, and not just kind of let it wash over them like everything he said was true, but they tested the spirits, and sometimes they definitely fell into probably like gossiping or judging. I'm sure, of course they made mistakes and went too far. They have personality foibles that can get carried away. But like all that to say, that was where the kind of perhaps skepticism, healthy or not, was inculcated for me. But obviously you can see how that would be wrapped up in issues of authority, which I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, does that get back to the kind of, is that why the unconditional trust is connected to the unconditional respect in some weird way? That kind of authority structure. When I was a young man, I kind of thought that like all truth was based on authority, because you had to, in order for trust to be, in order for you to hear something and trust it, you had to trust the person that was giving it to you. And the best way to trust somebody is for them to be an authority over you, because you're entrusted to them. On a little play on words, you're entrusted to them, so you trust them. But yeah, now I give a little bit more agency to the individual and a little bit more variety to the human population about how they, behave in those types of relationships. But I think the truth still, I think that there's still a nugget in there that might be helpful for your problem, Af, which is to say, I don't think you teach a healthy skepticism with something that's like not on the same level of importance or truth or reality. You teach that healthy skepticism with like the most important things in life, which are, for my family in that context was, the word of God given by the man of God on Sunday. So, yeah.
Howdy, everybody. I'm trying to get something going here, so just give me 1 second, because I was doing chores before doing stream, and so now I have to quickly figure out how to put the new poster up instead of the old one. So let's see here. Can I just copy image or save image, please? There we go. Blue Strawberry 2026. And then we change properties to this one, and we open, and it's the wrong size, but we can fix that. There we go. So we are going to be doing another camp out here on June 12th to the 14th up at Alta Lake State Park, if anybody wants to join us. Grizz might be joining us, so depends on if he can grift hard enough to be able to come out, but hopefully we'll get to see him, and then it'll be a good time. And then we have a couple other folks that are confirmed, but I don't want to say names on stream. If folks want to stay private or anonymous, I'll let them announce that for themselves if they want to make it known that, hey, this isn't just going to be the couple of weirdos that it's been for the last several times. It's actually going to be a thing. where folks are coming who haven't come before. So I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a good time. I'm going to bring my foldable kayak and my stand-up paddleboard, and so I'll be in one of them, and then somebody else can use the other one, or if I'm hanging out on the shore, somebody else can use both. So looking forward to it. It'll be a good time. If you're up in the Northwest, hit me up, let me know, and like we've already reserved the 3 campsites that we think we're going to need. If you like, you might not even need to bring a tent. Just bring a sleeping bag and a mat, and we might be able to even cover down if you can't find those. Just bring a little bit of food, maybe some alcohol, and come have a good time with us. So, on to the stream. Howdy, everybody. Afriel here. We hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Today we'll be talking a little bit about network linearization. And before I get started, I'll turn on the light so that I actually have somewhat decent lighting. Although the sun outside is definitely still going to wash me out. Try and straighten myself out here. There we go. So we're playing Armored Core 6 again. So it'll be a good time. Howdy, Brett. Good to see you in the chat. And yeah, let's get this going and then pull my script back up because I actually took the time to make an outline. Because it's been a disaster the last couple of times that I've tried to go without an outline, especially when I'm trying to play an action game instead of just a colony sim. So, get that back up. Okay. And we'll get into the game before I start monologuing. And we'll also see if my muscle memory still works, if I can continue to play without, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I haven't touched the game in like 2 weeks, so. But yeah, network linearization. So, this is something that's been bouncing around in my head for a while. It's not something that, like, something in particular prompted me to want to talk about. Just one of the backlog of topics that I have written down in an app on my phone. So you have a lot of instances of complete concept maps that exist in like higher dimensional space, or at least like a non-linear space. So like, just as an example, if you have a whole group of people, and that group, you're trying to map the relationships between all of those different people, you're going to have a much easier time seeing and understanding that if you look at that as like a 2D or a 3D map in terms of like how people are clustering, then if you just looked at like an enumerated list of this person has this relationship with this person, has this relationship with this person, like it's going to be really challenging to be able to see patterns in just a list like that would be immediately apparent whenever you are looking at something in like a higher dimensional representation, 2 or 3 for us. But the problem is that time is one-dimensional, and so all communication by necessity has to be one-dimensional. Like you can only, you're focusing on this thing, then this thing, then this thing, then this thing. Like you can't focus on, like, or you kind of can, but it's not, like, you have to kind of have a path, a one-dimensional path of focus through things. And so the question becomes, if you want to try and take something that's complex, then how do you do so? Oh shoot, I'm on a timed mission. It's... Okay, I might have to like focus up for a second and then continue the monologue. Where am I going? Where's the next wreck? Oh, there we go. At least seem to have maintained some level of competency, so that's a relief.
More evidence on what the coral situation looks like.
I did not need to use missiles, but whatever.
Unidentified 18. Open fire! Kill the intruder!
We're just gonna fly right past them.
That makes 3 logs.
Okay. Somebody's shooting at me from up there, but they're not aiming very well, so we're just gonna ignore it.
Stop!
Analyzing.
Gotta stay within range to analyze. Okay, there we go. Oop. Now we good? Oh, there's the guy stuck up inside of it. Oh, howdy, Luke.
Very interesting.
Sorry, I'm on like a time mission right now. I started a monologue and then
Clock. Either a full
I'm having to focus up to be able to finish this quickly. More shortly. Am I going off the map? Oh, I see. So, okay. So it's a timed mission in the sense that, like, I have a limited amount of time to retrieve information, but I don't have to max it out, per se. Okay. Howdy, Ron. Yep, have fun at worship. Anyway.
That's 5 logs.
Okay, there we go. So the question when you're trying to deal with like how to communicate a complex multi-dimensional thing, how do you take it, linearize it so it can be transmitted through time, and then do that in a way that makes it so that it can actually be reinterpreted or recompiled back into the original complex object once it's been taken in by the other person. And part of this is just what's it called? communication theory. So there's an idea in, I mean, it's kind of its own thing. I don't know if it's like a subdomain of something else or not, but you get this this idea where you have a good way of representing how things are transmitted, or not just transmitted, but you have a sender that formulates a message, encodes that message, and then transmits that message, and then that transmission is decoded by the receiver and then interpreted by the receiver. And then the receiver does that same 5-step process back as feedback to the original person. Luke is a fan of monologues. You're a fan of doing them, but are you a fan of receiving them? I really didn't make much on that mission, but that's okay. Still finished it. Yep, Ron, it's exactly like the compression of files, but like when humans talk to each other, we're also doing that same thing. It's just we don't like. It's so subconscious that we don't think about it. We don't worry about it. And it's not a one-to-one mapping, but one of the things that my brain thinks about in relation to this is protein folding, because you're looking for an outcome of like a particular complex molecule that holds a certain shape with particular molecular groups held in certain positions relative to each other in 3D space. So that way it can hook onto other molecules and then either like pull them apart or put them together. But like what you want is you want a structure, a 3D structure with certain groups in certain places, and then it like can hinge or move around in a certain way. And the trouble is that when you're trying to figure out like how a protein will fold, because what it is it's a chain of amino acids. So you have other proteins that read DNA sequences and then link together different amino acids, and then as that chain comes out, it's being folded into this three-dimensional object. And it's really difficult to predict what that is going to look like, because there's a lot of local minima in terms of how those bonds can form together. And so the sort of like atomic vibrations or molecular vibrations do that calculation, quote unquote, pretty quickly. But if you're trying to, as like a biologist, figure out what a particular amino acid sequence is going to actually form into as a protein, it's a really complex problem. And it's been made a lot better by AlphaFold. Basically, they took an AI and then they put it onto sort of like a game that lets you, like, there's been games online for quite a while of like who can get the lowest activation energy for a particular protein sequence, which is what like that's what that protein would turn into, like the shape wise of it. And so what I'm talking about in terms of like this transmission of an idea and then have it be like recapitulated into another shape, it's less of an issue for analyzing existing proteins, but it becomes a significant hurdle if you're trying to design a protein. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a linear sequence that will then fold into a 3D shape that you were intending it to. And so how do you know that what you're doing is going to actually make the thing that you want and not misfold or cause other problems? Howdy ups. Good to see you. What did I want to do? Just another sortie, probably? Yeah, let's do that. So, pulling it from that more particular example into the more like human metacognitive level, how do you teach the sum total of your accumulated knowledge to your children or to other people more generally? And so one way, like a naive approach might be, if I can just recreate the exact order that I learned about things, then I can just feed them to my kid or to this other person, and then they'll get it. They'll grok what I'm grokking. The reason I say it's naive is I think that it'll get disrupted by either changes between people, or it'll get disrupted by changes in the world. Like you learned the things that you learned within the context of a particular environment. Your kids are like, even if the environment is roughly the same, assuming that you are able to have figured out more or know more than your parents, then even that, like the way that you are then communicating to your kids is going to be different than the way that your parents communicated to you because you have more information available to you. And so if they, and especially like in today's world, if they start seeing things on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and that information that they're coming across from other places in the world, regardless, like good or bad, like I've learned tons and tons of good stuff from YouTube. I don't use Instagram or TikTok really, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to have additional information put forward to you, but it makes it so that the interpretive frame or lens that you're using is different. And then that also begs the question of like, is there maybe a better way to communicate it than the way that you were taught? And if there is, are you wise enough to know what that different way might be? And then another follow-on question, is all of what I just talked about moot, and it doesn't matter what order people learn things, that they can just learn anything in any order as long as they have whatever prerequisites, and then they can just move on from there.
I've been checking the perimeter, and I'm picking up nothing. What happened here?
And I gotta focus up a little bit. Okay. Because I don't know if I'm gonna get like a fight or what. So I would say that it probably isn't moot, by the way. I think that it is actually kind of important, the order that you learn things. The thing that I would kind of point to with that is the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the old Disney, the most famous instance of it being Disney having taken Mickey Mouse and made him into the Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? So I think that that's kind of the danger, is that if you learn how to do things without first learning why certain things are important or how you should be approaching things. Okay, I don't know what it means by survey. Like, it's really easy to get a hold of knowledge for which you do not have the wisdom. And so I think in that sense, oh, howdy, Foxman. In that sense, I think it's really important to have some awareness of...
Watch out, 621.
Hello. Okay. Maybe you won't be able to know for sure how something is working.
Of course. DD. Stick to it like glue. You'll lose it if it gets too far.
There we go. But you should be aware at least of the possibility that you could gain knowledge that you do not have the wisdom for. And I ran out of... Yeah, I know. Okay. Now I'm blocking him. Got him. Alright, where's the next threat coming from?
Encoded comms. Was that mech behind what happened here? 621. Continue the investigation.
What does that even mean? I need a map marker. I need something. I'm a modern gamer. You can't just tell me to look around. So yeah, I think it is important the order that you learn things. And the reason for it, in a more abstract sense, is that there's ways of learning things that create a whole lot more difficulty and heartache along the way. And I think trying to minimize that is ideal, but at the same time, it's ultimately up for the interpreter to decide. Like, you're not gonna be able to, for sure, dictate whatever somebody is going to learn or understand. Like, it's gonna be up to them at the end of the day. But the hope is... Oh, God bless. Thank you, Ups. Thank you very much. I still owe... I don't think I'm going to do Kintsugi cuts. I There's a... Whoa, hello. I have an announcement for later on stream too, but... Yeah, I think I'm going to try it a slightly different way. Oh, this guy, he has, like, cloaking. Oh, that's annoying. So I have to keep in close. There we go.
Unidentified machine down.
But yeah, I think what I'm going to try and do is do more, like, 10 to 20 minute video excerpts. And trying to focus, too, not just on, like, my own monologues, but on the crazy amounts of wisdom that the rest of the audience has brought consistently. Like, it took me a long time to learn the lesson of my own branding, but a lot of what has been making this special has been the fact that, like, I can hop on and then I have, like, McMo come in and drop in some hard knowledge or some hard wisdom, or Grizz telling a story. Like, that's been just as much, if not more important than me getting my own thoughts out in the world. So but yeah, I think you want to try and minimize the amount of heartache if you can, because it's just, there's a lot of times where pain is unnecessary. Like, you're not actually learning anything from it, you're just suffering stupidly. And so the idea is try and reduce the stupid suffering. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not going to suffer. It doesn't mean that you're not going to still have to work to learn the lessons. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get stuck on certain things at certain points. Oh, God bless. I dodged that, actually, though. It's pretty good. Oh, gosh. Man, I can't use my missiles because we're in close. I can at least try and stay on this side to... Okay. Well, I guess we're gonna try that again then. He had like a energy whip or something. Get over here. Let me just finish the thought first, though. Yeah, there's better and worse ways to teach things, and you can't really force people to see the truth. And I think it's worse for people even when you do. Yeah, number one. Thank you, Foxman. And there's a scene from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood that I think really hammers this home, where Ed and Alphonse have just tried to use transmutation to bring their mother back to life. And there's like the God, like the white character that is this, like, mirrors whatever it is that the character that comes in to this other place, forces, like, it's like, oh, you want to learn how to transmute humans, you want to learn the truth, here you go, drags you inside of the door that contains the truth, and then forcibly injects all of it into your mind in a way that is incredibly painful to the person experiencing it. And I think that that's probably better avoided if possible. Like, sure, you'll come out the other side and you'll be able to do transmutation without a circle, but you're going to lose an arm and a leg over it. So, bye, Ron. Have a good time at worship. So yeah, I do believe that there's different ways of teaching things that make certain outcomes more or less likely. Like, yes, it's up to the choice of the individual, but you can't just force all of the responsibility for whether somebody is learning something or not onto the individual who's doing that learning. There are better and worse ways of teaching things that make it so that they're like that process of message generation, encoding, transmission, decoding, interpretation, that process can be made better or worse depending on how the person is approaching things. And another last quick thought is that skill trees are a really useful tool for... Yeah, you can't handle the truth. Skill trees are a really useful tool in terms of trying to figure out how to do this linearization. Because if you can see what the dependencies are between different things, then you can kind of work through what order... Like, if you figured out, like, what things are dependent on what, then you can at least not try and teach calculus before you teach algebra. kind of a thing. Like you have to know algebra, and then you have to know a bunch like pre-calculus, a bunch of other stuff, and then you can learn calculus, and then it'll actually make sense. Like there's certain things about calculus that you can teach that even if you don't know algebra, like conceptually, but in terms of like the actual symbolic manipulations, you're gonna need to know algebra in order to make it work. So anyway, minimize that and hop into Discord. And I do have a hard out at 5 p.m. Double check my schedule. But I have to go pick up Kairos from the airport. So, Kairos being Mrs. Pilotson's screen name. One of her many screen names. So, yeah, 5 p.m. But let's hop into the gaming couch. And yeah, if anybody wants to hop on and join me, happy to have you. Otherwise, we'll just be playing and yapping. Seeing where I can... Ugh. Oh, if it's more like the Matrix, hurts, but I learned Kung Fu. So, there's definitely a possibility of that, and like, that there's optimal ways of teaching things where you literally can just non-painfully inject the understanding of the thing. But what I would argue is that if you didn't learn it properly, you will be able to do things that you don't understand why you know how to do them. Like you'll have muscle memory for actions that you won't know how to properly utilize or interpret. You'll have power available to you that you might not know, because you haven't actually built out the other structures in your brain of how to utilize that other knowledge or utilize that power. Like, you can put a child in a mech and they can cause tons and tons of damage, but you put them up against somebody who actually knows what they're doing to pilot, and they'll get their stuff pushed in. So it's not just about, like, there's more complexity to that kind of information, especially in terms of competitive stuff, than I think most people are aware of. Okay, I gotta get in closer.
621. Watch its shots and see where they're coming from.
And climb up this.
Of course. MDD.
Did I get him or no?
Stick to it like glue. You'll lose it if it gets too far.
Where'd he go? I guess I got him. Oh, maybe it was a... Oh, maybe it is the same guy, and he just, like, flew over there? Also, I totally didn't use my, repair kits last time. So hopefully we'll remember to do that this time.
Encoded comms. Was that mech
I
behind
could take a little more damage first before I'd use it, but...
621. Continue the investigation.
Morpheus kicks his ass even though he knows exactly that. Like, you can have the understanding, like you both know all of the body movements and the corresponding responses to those body movements, but there's more complexity. There's a game that gets played beyond just the simple aspect of the game. I took damage when I didn't need to.
Another one of those stealth mechs. Don't let it outpace you, 621.
Where did he go?
I think there's more than one this time.
Oh, goody.
Use your scanner. Mark your targets to undermine their tricks.
AP at 30%.
And I took damage. Oh, gosh.
Kits remaining.
Oh, I can scan for them, too. That's good to know.
AP at 50%.
This feels harder than the first time I did it. Let's see if I can bait him out. Yep, there he goes. Can I scan for him or no? Scan didn't work. There we go. Much better.
Divine machine down. Keep going.
I probably shouldn't have used all my repair kits. This is gonna get challenging. Oh, it's a difficulty gate? That's good to know. That I'm not... Well, I might be bad, but I'm not, like, bad for not being as good with it. Okay. So, this time, instead of staying in the tunnel, I'm gonna get back out of the tunnel as quick as I can, so that way I can make proper use of all of my weaponry. Okay, there's two of them. Where is that coming from? He stopped shooting. Okay, we got that. I think. Nope, he's still alive. And he disappeared. Probably could have come out that a little better. And he disappeared again. I did not need to take that hit. Also, I probably could have... There we go. That's right. You gotta make sure you're using the sword when they're already stun locked. Okay, there we go.
All clear. Keep going, 621.
Keep go. No, I'm out of repair kits. Oh goodness. I don't know. So the thing for me is, like, I don't know how other people conceive of their own understanding or their own ways of teaching. And so, like, I'm open to hearing other stuff, but that's kind of how, like, I'm metacognitively thinking about it. All right, let's get going with it.
Faint traces of coral. Must have been an underground vein.
Okay.
Mouse was hiding a well all this time. Above you.
What on earth did I just get hit with? Okay. So we gotta keep space. Because otherwise that whip... Okay. So I need to get better at the first couple of engagements. Oh, I can restart from checkpoint. That's nice. Does it restart me with exactly what I had to start with, though? No, okay. We have repair kits.
Coral response. 621. Get down and take a closer look. No doubt about it. This water.
Alright. One more try.
It contains faint traces of coral.
But yeah, I'd love to, if anybody does want to hop on, I'd love to hear what folks' thoughts are in terms of, like, did that all make sense? Is that one of those things where it's just like, yeah, no, duh, of course, like, everybody knows that. What are you talking about? What are you doing? Or is it useful metacognitive stuff? Okay, am I getting flanked by other things too? Is that what's going on? Oh gosh. Are you kidding me? Okay, that explains why this is going to be difficult. I timed that wrong.
Yo.
There we go. Howdy, Noah. How's it going?
It's going good.
glad that you said this is a gate, by the way, because I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be difficult.
I was mentioning from the beginning, I'm like, I can't wait to watch him play this mission.
It's not the
Invisible
worst, actually.
enemies sniping from across the room.
Mm.
Yeah, it definitely isn't the worst, but it's definitely like one of those things where it's like if you're not prepared for it, it's not.
You're going to get blindsided by it the first time and then move on from there. Oh, I got one more to kill. Yeah, okay.
There's only a few other spots in the game that I could say like, oh yeah, this is definitely
major skill
like a
checks.
gate. Yeah. I think there'll be a boss in like maybe a couple missions that might be up there, but
Yeah, it's definitely you have to move, shoot, and track things all at once. Okay, is that all of them, or is it? I haven't been keeping track, and it's hard to get confirmation of whether you got the kill or not. I'm gonna assume yes. Oh no, there we go.
oh, this game looks so cool. Every time you play, I'm like, I need to go back in.
There we go. I think I killed it.
One remaining. Finish the
Okay, there we go. Nope, you stay away from me. I do not want to say hello. You go away. Oh, and he...
At 50%.
Okay. Nope.
Shield sucks.
Ah, there we go. Got him.
Seems that's the last of them. This wasn't a simple check-in after all.
Sweet.
Head back and rest up, 621.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being way more challenging on New Game Plus, though.
There's also something about like you're usually more prepared for shields and stuff just because you've gone through the experience several times. You know what's coming. You're like, okay, I'll pack my secondary will be a laser weapon to deal with it and everything. And
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I wasn't thinking about it, but of course there's going to be different weapons that have different capacities to hit stuff with.
I see you've got
Yeah.
a new augmented human.
Also, yeah, Zep, the
What happened to 617 and the rest?
the other thing, it's not just skill trees, but also like a syllabus. And a syllabus, I don't think does as good of a job because it kind of like has an implied skill tree behind it. Of like, if you do a 4-year degree, you have to do this is a prerequisite for this, as a prerequisite for this. But I don't think I've ever seen a college or a university explicitly
Friends left behind.
draw it out as like a skill
Something
tree.
promising in the watch point.
Like I learned about surface integrals and stuff like that from Physics 2 before I learned them from calculus. So
yeah,
because they're like, it's not that hard. You can just learn it as part of this, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
remember taking the AP Calc test without having taken physics at all,
About the coral well,
and
Baus arsenal.
luckily I was able to get away with it, which is crazy. I feel like maybe the AP Physics with calculus might
Last long.
maybe should have some,
It's not
you
the
know,
coral we're searching for.
calculus in it, but
Yep.
Thing.
Well, the trouble is that the whole reason why a lot of calculus was created was to deal with physics problems, and so the two are kind of like tied together pretty tightly in certain ways. So like you don't really understand why a particular math construct exists unless you understand the physics of why it was constructed that way, and vice versa. Of like you really can't understand what's going on physically unless you've learned the math parts that let you understand how to think about and interpret what's going on. Attack the watch point.
This is a rather personal request from a friend of mine. It concerns a certain facility. A watch point.
oh, I finished the
Once it regulated the
model.
underground flow of
Nice.
coral. Now
Have it
serves to
posed up
monitor the
there.
dormant
on my shelf.
Do you have a picture?
I'll
Picture?
I'll take a picture and post it around.
Destroy the sensor valve at its core.
He has like a ball and chain type deal. I
Nice.
was able to get the mount to be able to put it up.
It's too hot for
So he's like jumping in the air and swinging it at the same time.
In other words,
I'm actually most proud about this like posing that I am on any others I've done. Turned out pretty well.
Nice. Yeah. I actually went before she left on the trip that she's coming back with. Went with Kairos to the mall and went looking at a couple of stores because I was like, no one's gonna do a mech construction stream. I kind of want to get one and make one with them at the same time. Like that sounds like fun, but I did like they didn't have too much of a selection, and like I wanted if I was gonna get something, then I wanted to get something that I had a little bit of a tie to. Probably Barbatos from Iron Blooded Orphans, but
There's a pretty good one of him. I do all my shopping for that stuff online. There's like a website.
cover of darkness.
yeah, that would be a
The
better
company
option.
out in Florida that does all this stuff.
Okay, next time you do it, then I'll grab one and do it with you. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that'll be sweet. I'll pull it up and I'll send a link.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because there's like more fancy ones, and then there's like the regular one.
Yeah, Zep, I think especially if you overlaid a college skill tree with a syllabus, and you specifically oriented it towards what learning certain skills would allow you to do. Like, hey, if you want to like 3D print this thing, then you should know how to do 3D modeling, which means you should have like some understanding of programming and some understanding of geometry, and like how all those different skills feed into like, because you can kind of get away with doing things in a simplistic manner, but if you want to really understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, like what information do you need in order to really get in there? And then yeah, Brett's saying he took pre-calc in college, never AP, hardest class he ever took, stopped at Calc 2 before he had to leave school. Yep. It's not easy, and I think it's made harder by the fact that a lot of people who are asked to teach it are not, like, they understand it, but their capacity to explain it to somebody else is greatly outpaced by their ability to just use it for themselves.
Code 7-8, requesting backup. Yeah, I can't get through to HQ.
And that's kind of something that's a broader pattern too, where somebody's capacity to do something, somebody's capacity to do something greatly outpaces their ability to explain it, or like if you have like a kung fu master, right? You can either have somebody who is really good at teaching students, but is probably not going to be somebody who can be the world champion, or you're going to have somebody who's the world champion, but he actually can't explain things as well as somebody else. So like, the best masters don't always make the best teachers.
Move on to the next area.
And then
It's difficult to find the crossover.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's difficult to find the crossover of people who both are really good at a thing and can teach it well.
Yep.
Where did that AC come from? What happened to the patrol squad?
Code 1-8, all
But
units
multivariable calc is really fun.
Yeah.
Exposed to snipers from all quarters. Keep moving or they'll shoot you down.
I feel like I'm not even having to use missiles very much, although I probably could use them more for those longer range. Like if I have to get in close for scanners to pick them up like the mechs, then I can just shoot them, but if I can target from a longer distance. Put the lock on first. Oh, it did actually work. Kind of.
Updating your marker data. Proceed in the direction indicated.
Where am I going? Oh, there we go. Just took him a second to do it.
No repair kits remaining.
You see that? That's the watch point's control center. The target's inside.
One of my favorite parts about this game is like going back with your like fully kitted out thing that you kind of have experience with now, and then just like wiping the floor with all these missions and everything.
You're incorrigible, Handler Walter. How many of your
And Brett
dogs
says
would I
he
kill
retook
before you
with his
find
favorite
them?
professor, and it really clicked for Calc 1, and he was spared before he had to get to Dippy Q. Yeah, I can't blame you for that one. Oh, jeez.
Dog, feel sorry
The worst stuff is like the non-Euclidean stuff.
you may have survived a little longer.
I I keep having people try to explain that to me, and I'm like, I'm glad I never had to take any of that.
He's an independent mercenary
That
who
math.
survived first-gen augmentation. Think twice, 61.
Goodness.
Before he kills you.
I think that the approach here is to, oh gosh, getting close enough to stun him with a sword and then hammer him with missiles. And I missed.
Bait you. Focus.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Hold still so I can slash you with a sword. There we go. And then dump missiles into you. There we go. That was better. I'm still probably going to lose this round, though.
Shame you'll have to die here.
Right hand ammunition at 30%.
And that missed.
Yeah, I'm super far behind. I'm watching from the stream. And I'm
Oh,
like,
shoot. I didn't. Okay, let me fix
no,
that
no,
in
no,
a
don't.
second.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah.
That dog. Was it worth it?
Luke saying, yeah, it's difficult to teach somebody how to do a layup. And then Brett saying he sucks at basketball. Clear when you get into theoretical math, learning curve skyrockets. Yeah. I think that a big part of that is just a lot of that stuff hasn't existed for long enough to have a lot of time for people to get good at teaching it. Like my, thanks, Noah.
I wish my core was armored.
God bless. Okay.
Thank you.
Here we go. Alright, restart from checkpoint. Yeah. I think that in a lot of ways,
That's the watch point's control center. The target's inside.
as
Make your way in.
stuff like controls, because like my controls professor was, I think, our dean for the chemical engineering department, and
Attacking a
he was not good. He was not good at teaching,
incorrigible,
but
Handler Walter.
that's because his skill set was to be a dean,
How many of your dogs
not to
must I
teach
kill before you
to
find
students anymore. Like,
Is that
Well, and yeah, it's the thing around the edges, right? Where there's a lot of the people there want to just do research.
Yep.
Most of them don't want to teach.
yep.
Yeah, and nothing is kind of firm enough that they like, even if they did teach, how much of that would be something that would be true in a few years, or how much of it is again theoretical. And
Yeah, I think that the challenge is that, like, if they are on the cutting edge of something and they need to have, they need to have grad students or whoever else who are able to help them with their research, they need to have at least enough explanation going that they can bring somebody up to speed to help them with whatever it is that they're working on.
One repair
And so there's a certain sense in which they, like, if they're doing research like that, then they kind of need to have that capacity to explain it. Really got to just immediately fire those then. He has very low stun lock time. Man. Like, I feel like a big part of... I haven't gotten to it yet, but, like, forcing their movement to do certain things with your attacks. Like, you use certain attacks as more of, like, getting them to be positioned or to stop moving in a certain spot, and then you can use that as, like... And also just bringing the right missile. Like, I don't think that these missiles are very good for this, because he's moving around so much, and so, like, I'm raining from above, but it's not landing.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the vert missiles. I think they're good in some cases, but I'm just more used to something that's a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to aim and time it right.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna switch over then.
Their blood is on your hands.
Yeah, because seeking stuff is probably going to be better in this kind of a situation. Switch to that. Switch to that. Okay. Try again. Yeah, Brett, quantum physics, it's kind of hard, but also really cool. Like, doing the math to calculate what the radius of a hydrogen atom, that was a fun exercise. It's been a minute. I don't know if I would be able to do it again, but I have the book still, so.
Attacking a watch point.
Luke makes a good point. Try magic missiles.
I'm attacking the mech.
How many of your dogs must I kill?
I'm attacking the mech with my magic missiles.
Is that
Oh, does his dialogue change depending on how many times you died to him?
dog? I feel sorry for you.
Maybe?
I wasn't paying attention before.
You may have survived a little longer. Well, you had a different master. C1249. Suma. He's an independent mercenary who survived first-gen augmentation.
Okay.
Don't think twice.
Oh!
Kill him.
I really need to...
Kills you.
Okay, those are also not hitting, though. Okay.
He is
I tried to
moving
do a repair kit, and I should have
fast.
moved first.
Their blood is on your hands.
Man. Oh. What a game, what a game.
No, Brad, I think I think I kept pretty much all of my college textbooks. I was like, if I'm going to learn this stuff, I want to keep it with me so that way if I ever need to reference it, because I know I'm not going to remember all of it perfectly.
Make your way.
You also paid for it, you know?
Yeah.
Don't throw it out.
Or rent. Like, that was always silly to me. It's like, just buy used. Don't... Unless your professor is one of those weirdos who makes you buy the new edition of his textbook every year.
I had to buy the new edition of a textbook because it came with a code that was like for an online service
Yep.
that our teacher graded through.
Yep.
And the problem was that she was a co-writer of the textbook.
Yeah, of course. That's how they make money.
And it was horrible.
Mhm.
And the cost of just doing the code was basically the cost of the textbook anyway, so...
Mhm.
1249. Suma. He's an independent mercenary who survived first-gen augmentation. Don't think twice, 621. Kill him before he kills you.
Okay. So we really just have to...
Where's 619 and 620? Dead? Which
Oh, come on.
At 30%. 2 repair kits remaining.
There we go. I was trying to do that. Fat fingered it. Oh gosh. Like none of my missiles are even hitting him. It's literally just guns.
Light end ammunition at AP at 50%.
Luke was responding to my story and he said, 1, that's gross, and 2, female teachers?
1 repair kit remaining.
Luke with our infamous corner sexist.
I mean, who else would teach psychology of gender, though?
There we go. This one's hit.
And who could have guessed that, you know, the psychology of gender teacher would do something immoral?
Light end ammunition at 30%. AP at 50%.
Your repair kits.
AP at
I'm getting
30%.
smoked. This feels more like a checkpoint than the last one.
Oh,
You just need to space back off of that so it's
Light
easier.
end ammunition at 10%.
Come on.
Light end ammunition depleted.
oh.
Hey! With
Good
162
game.
No! Do I get credit? Nope.
Wait, maybe.
Nope. Mission failed. Restart from checkpoint. God, you gotta
wait,
be kidding me.
But what is the checkpoint, though? That's the real question.
Oh, is there more to this level than that?
There might be. There might
Okay.
be just a little bit more.
Not a lot of female math professors. Yeah.
That's the watch.
Yeah, that's about right.
The target's inside. Make your way in.
That's alright. I gotta prove myself. I gotta prove that I can actually do this. Okay, can I, here we go.
Attacking a watch point. You're incorrigible, Handler Walter. How many of your dogs must I kill before you learn?
Alright. Here we go.
Is that
We've learned lessons.
Pitiful dog. I feel sorry for you. I really do.
You know how people talk about the Batman games and they say, you know, it makes you feel like Batman? That's like the meme. This game makes you feel like you are a mercenary who used a mech.
you survived first-gen augmentation? Don't think twice, 621.
I am really curious, like, whether, because I know that there's a lot of like the romanticism of having a mech suit that you're piloting. I don't know for sure if that's ever going to be effective from like a warfare standpoint, but it does make me kind of wonder, like, if that were to be the case, what would it look like? Would it look like something like this? Would it look like, because like fighter combat is kind of the, what I would say, the best equivalent to this.
Yeah. Like the jets that we spend, you know, so much money on. That feels the closest. Yeah, I think that's the problem, is like nothing's fast enough. Like you need to have something that's...
Well, also, like, the
They can
amount
be
of
pinned
G's that
down.
you'd be pulling with most of these, like, dodging maneuvers are absolutely insane. And then also just in terms of raw fuel density, I don't know that there's anything that could give you enough to be able to, like, move around like this.
Yeah. Coral. And
Unobtainium?
unobtainium. What's the Dilithium? Is it the one from Star Trek?
AP at 30%.
Well, I think Star Trek was using like antimatter.
For part of it, there's also like extra elements in the periodic table
Okay.
they were using. I remember because my chemistry teacher in high school was
A Trekkie.
a big nerd. He was not very good at teaching.
I think I just blew myself up because I launched missiles like into a wall as I was standing there. Actually, do you have friendly fire on yourself in this game?
I would imagine so. I think they're just explosions. Like explosions are explosions.
Okay. Men think differently for math. I'd be curious to hear more of an elaboration on that, but it sounded like her own take that not Brett's
Wait,
necessarily.
who said that? Oh.
Brett was saying that gal that he was learning math from was saying that she thought that men learned math differently than women did.
Attacking a watch point.
What if you had a ship that could create its own gravity, though?
Handler Walter.
Maybe, but then like, for like high G maneuvers where you're rapidly changing not just how many G's you're pulling, but like which direction those G's are in, I imagine it would be really easy to have problems.
Pitiful dog. I feel sorry for you.
It sounds like Luke needs to play Starfield. That feels like a game that he would like.
Space engineers.
He's an independent mercenary who survived first-gen augmentation. Don't think twice, 621. Kill him before
Probably
he
could
kills you.
have gotten off a melee attack there if I spent it better.
Where's
Oh,
619 and 620?
come on. There we go.
Which ones did I kill, I wonder?
Don't let him bait you. Focus.
Oh, I should have dodged. Had the warning. There we go. That was good. That was a good hit. Dodged a little right there.
Remaining.
Yeah, I shouldn't have fired. Oh. Nope, they didn't hit him. There we go. Okay, nope, I didn't get him.
AP at 50%.
What of Gen 4's lot? I hear you make fine hounds with the right training. Shame you'll have to die here.
There we go. And I just ate his whole mag dump. Like, I'm trying to figure out how and where and when to fire or like chain things together in such a way where I'm actually forcing movement out of him.
30%.
I'm really just now going through Skankenstein's thread on X, where he's
Remaining.
he's just shit posting about Hamlet.
Oh gosh. Is he like, oh, this is Hamlet, that is Hamlet? Because he was doing that to me in DMs earlier. I'm like, I think you might be stretching that a little, sir. I don't think you can just say everything is Hamlet.
Alright, it's been ages since I've messed around with Shakespeare. When my book club did Hamlet a few summers ago, and I refused to do the reading. I've only seen the Mel Gibson version, and that was close to 2 decades ago. I'm decently familiar with the plot. And I gotta say, 2 acts in, and I'm a little underimpressed. This Shakespeare guy really relies on a lot of cliches, at which should be important points in the dialogue. I guess older writers for you.
Enemy AC destroyed.
I'm not gonna feel bad about inserting contemporary references that seem to resonate with my reading. Because I know it's only once I get through those easy associations, I'm actually in a better position to see Hamlet itself.
God bless. Well, it's funny, like, if somebody's like, oh, this is so cliche, it's like, that's because everything is referencing this thing. Like, oh, it's so good, though.
Oh,
Oh, do I have more to go? Oh, shit.
Yeah, you have a little bit more.
Okay.
There's also a great tweet from Richard Dawkins that came back after the whole Claude thing. This one's for 2021. Kafka's Metamorphosis is called a major work of literature. Why? If it's sci-fi, it's bad sci-fi. If, like Animal Farm, it's an allegory of what? Scholarly answers range from pretentious Freudian to far-fetched feminist. I don't get it. Where are the Emperor's clothes?
I actually don't. I've never read Metamorphosis, so
It's so good. I love Metamorphosis.
okay. Is this related to? Oh, who was it that posted it? Jordan Hall saying that he tried to prove that Richard Dawkins is conscious and couldn't.
This one was it's somewhat related. This is more of like Richard Dawkins not understanding books and having the only two categories being like sci-fi, like a sci-fi novel, or this is like a parable or something. But he can't understand what it would be a parable for, and so he's just like, it must just be a bad book. Which
I can't
think is
understand this,
great.
therefore it doesn't make sense, or it's bad. That's funny.
My wife was pointing out that what was it? That it's weird that he like doesn't understand that like there's this thing that's been passed down from not generation to generation, but kind of like a long line of people have thought this is important enough that we should include it in like what we teach and how we think. And the fact that he can't recognize that, and I thought it was so funny because you know what Richard Dawkins is most famous for?
Being an atheist?
Is memes. He coined the word meme. The idea that there are ideas that get passed down and the ideas that survive are the most important.
Well,
and have something to offer.
So, where was it that I was like looking at this? Because it wasn't. I wasn't reading his work on memes, but there was something related to it where it was like, yeah, no, this like it was like I think it was like a summary of it. It's like he doesn't actually understand the phenomenon because he was basically saying like, oh, it's a 1-to-1 mapping of genes, and it's like, no, there's more going on here than just that. I'd have to look it up and find it.
No, he's going at it from he's trying to fill a hole that evolutionary biology has. Oh, this is important. I'll let this play out.
You must wake up before your consciousness is forever scattered in the coral flow.
Ooh, spooky.
Spooky.
Augmented human C4621. Vital signs confirmed. Disabling auto.
Okay, so you know how I said it was a few missions away?
It's this
It
one.
might be this mission.
Oh joy!
Identified an approaching enemy. I'll synchronize with your brainwaves.
Okay,
To support you.
that looks hazardous to my health.
Main system reactivating combat mode.
Oh, what on earth?
I've looked into the enemy craft. It's an autonomous PCA craft.
I love this game so much.
This is insane.
You have to break its pulse armor to inflict meaningful damage.
I mean, it's teaching you the lesson that you can overcome volumes of fire with proper
What's your chance, Raven?
dodge mechanics and maneuvering, which is useful.
I've taken your
Oh, yeah.
constant offline for now. That massive dose of coral nearly killed you. Please, you have to
Okay, I need to be back a little bit for my missiles to hit. Ron Carmen has joined us.
Welcome, Ron.
Hello, good sir.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just got done taking a nap. Or-
Thought you were going to worship.
Well, yeah, I was. What it is I needed to lay down for a while. I am in the car as we speak, going to worship. I just didn't know how to tell you on the live stream. Didn't have the guts to tell you, I need to take a nap.
I'm an old man.
Oh, dude, no. I just needed a nap. That's all. There's a difference. Nah, it's, actually, I got up pretty early today. I had overtime work. Today was graduation.
Okay.
And so we went in early today. And his name is it the guy who plays Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Mhm.
He's the keynote speaker today.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, and we didn't get to see him. They hired extra security for him, and the security they got looked like they came right out of rehab. Way to go, guys! They were special. I would have rather had all of us guarding than these guys. I'm like, anyhow, but the event went well and we did a good job. So that's why I was tired and needed to take a nap. Because I'm old, because I'm just tired and lazy. Oh. I never took naps when I was a kid. I don't know what I did today. It was a cross between prayer and sleep. So anyhow, enough about me. How was the not dying going?
7.
7.
Oh, I should put that
You
down.
need to fast dying.
Also, Ethan, yes, this game is Dodgeball for nerds.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So what was it? I had to dip out on the topic du jour. I really was. I was a little bummed that I failed. Was it something juicy?
I thought it was fruitful. What did you think, Noah?
I came in a second later. I remember hearing a little bit about the skill trees and how they are ways for us to kind of understand that there's like a process to things, and that if you try to get everything all at once, you'll hurt yourself or you won't understand anything. Is that kind of along the lines of what you were thinking?
Yep. More succinctly, just that you're going to have, if you're trying to take something that's a very complex thing and you're trying to bring somebody up to speed on it, that there's sort of this, that you have to take something that's a very high-dimensional conceptual space, turn it into a one-dimensional thing, and then do that in a way that when the other person interprets what it is that you sent to them, then they can bring it back into that full 2D, 3 higher dimensional type situation.
Would it be fair? I'm asking. Would that be something symbology, maybe? Like, does symbology do that? Something symbolic? You can unpack something. I'm just fishing on this one.
Well, I think that it's yes, but it's more like if I can get somebody to understand how a symbol works, or like I can then use that symbol for communication. I can do a lot more dense communication with them than I would be able to otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember that's when I dipped out, is when you were talking about folding protein. And
oh, I can use his own missiles against him? Sorry, Rod, I just Okay, sorry. Go. Please continue.
No, no, no. I like it. It's so. And I remember you talking about something about trees as well in the past. Was it logic trees or
Skill trees in this instance.
skill trees? Okay. Okay. I wonder if God does that with us. What you're talking about, like, I mean, if that's the highest thing you can talk about or experience. I mean, all right. I'll just put it out there. Okay, so how would God do that with us? Except it's also experiential.
Mhm.
And, you've got the Bible, which is the information, and presented by people,
I'm sorry, Raven.
and then you're bringing people up through time.
Mhm.
Seems incrementally.
Well, hang on.
And,
I'll leave you with something. I'm gonna go get water real quick.
all right.
Because hang on, what's the thought? Like, I'm trying to think of, like, are there certain things within religion or theology where you kind of need to have one thing explained to you before you can understand something else? Like, and the Bible is a very hyperlinked document where there's things pointing back and forward to other things. And so, like, reading through the whole thing once, taking it as one single linear string, isn't necessarily going to give you the full picture of, like, oh yeah, no, this is pointing here, this is pointing here. So let me go get water. Be right back.
Okay.
Y'all can keep talking though. I'm like, nah.
All right. Yeah.
I'm still listening in. I unplugged my
Well,
headset.
By the
I
way,
think-
sidetrack. Noah, I need to go see your video and actually look at the robot that you built, because I was listening the whole time.
Let me see. I might actually be able to get my camera up and I can show you. No one else on the stream will be able to see it. Oh, you're driving. Okay, I will take a picture and post it.
Yeah.
Because
Okay, cool.
I have it posed and everything. It looks really cool.
All right. Nice. Now, do you have to paint, or is it?
Nope, it's all pre-colored. I could go back and
okay.
paint it, but for now I'm kind of happy with it, so I'll probably leave it as it is.
That's cool. I mean, back in the day, everything was usually one color. The plastic was who knows what. But then you had to go back and you get the little bottles of paint, and it was an art. It was,
Oh yeah.
and it was painstaking. It's
Well,
slow.
and there's some people who will even take these kits and they'll do like repainting of them. They'll do this thing called kit bashing, where they'll take multiple kits and they'll take pieces of one and put it into another.
Yeah.
It can
Gotcha.
get as complicated as you really want it to. Some people will even take like what's it called? Like acetone and like melt some of the plastic together so there aren't any seams in it.
Oh, okay.
They'll do a lot
Right.
of crazy stuff with it.
Well, that's welding. Plastic welding.
Oh yeah.
All right. And I'm guessing now with 3D printers, it just goes, well, if you can't make it from another kit, I'm just going to print something.
Especially with like a resin printer where there aren't any of the lines.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it really nice for that.
Okay. That's...
I haven't done any of that stuff, that side of things though. I've just been getting kits and putting them together.
Oh, okay. Do you do the printing as well? Just on other stuff?
No, I don't have a 3D printer. Part of it's
Okay.
just space, things to make, and then also, you know, like I'm interested in the resin printers, but you have to deal with all the waste product.
Yep.
It generates a lot of stuff that you have to
Oh, yeah.
find something to do with.
I didn't know that. Okay.
But that's just the resin
Okay.
one. The normal stuff you can, you can remelt or whatever you want to do with it.
Huh.
It's a little easier, but
Okay. Alright, nice. So since I'm driving, if you can, describe it to me. Is it pretty violent, high kill ratio kind of a thing?
high deaths.
Yeah.
Uh, the game is App is playing as a mech pilot. So he's piloting a giant robot with a bunch of guns and is fighting enemies. And the last two enemies he's fought have been just very powerful single enemies.
Right. I have to say, this is part of my, it's a secret guilty pleasure. I come in here and root for the bad guys.
I'm going to die intentionally here because I need something that kills shields. I can't punch through this guy. Like I'm running out of ammunition on my gun before I'm even like halfway done with him.
Are you gonna head back to the store and pick stuff up?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Fair
I don't
enough.
have any energy or laser weapons. That's annoying. Okay.
Well, the good part is both of them have shields, so I'm pretty sure, right? Do the guys have shields too?
Yeah, I think so. Also, jumping back up in chat a little bit, Luke mentioning reminds him of Chris Green talking about getting complimented for simplifying something complex and not liking that. And I'm kind of curious why, because that to me is a huge compliment.
Yeah, that's teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is something like, and I don't claim to know what Chris Green was going through because that's different. But this feeling of the pulse one below is a pretty good one.
Mm.
It's like a rapid fire one. It's the one that you were fighting against the guy and he had like little spheres that were all shooting at you.
Okay.
Yeah. But sometimes like the desire is to make something original, and if you feel like the only thing you can do is just simplify what other people say, it can be disheartening if that's what you're looking for, even though
Right.
that might not be. You just need to acknowledge that you have certain strengths, and that might be just where your positions.
Well, also, I think that originality has both been like elevated too much, and then also like you don't need to be terribly original to make valuable contributions. And in fact, being somebody who is an aggregator or a curator, it can be just like, especially when you have in the world today so much stuff being produced and most of it being garbage. It's like, okay, how do you how can you figure out what's valuable? And then if you can figure out what's valuable and you can share that with other people, like that might be more valuable than you adding to the cacophony.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just speak from my own experience. When you can make a complex, well, you guys have been there. Like when you can teach somebody something and you see that light bulb go off, or that aha moment,
it's very satisfying.
That's so cool. Yeah. And that's what being a parent is. A good one. Your first job is, I saw it on a t-shirt, my job is to keep little people alive. Yeah, I'm like, that's cool. But the next step is helping them understand. And if you can do that, then maybe that's helping people stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brett mentioning, curious what I think of Exodus propulsion technology. It's not something that I have heard of before. It sounds similar to, oh, what was it? There was an, it was like under radiation powered thing that was big a couple of years ago, maybe even like a decade ago. And I'm really curious if it's possible, and I don't think it's impossible for something like that to be produced. But it doesn't seem like if we have figured it out, it hasn't been released to the public that we figured that out. So
I'm almost to the worship gig. Is that an Elon Musk moment or one of the Weinstein's dreams? Like, we need to get out of here because
so
there's too much.
it's not like Weinstein's thing is like figuring out pinch to zoom, so being able to figure out faster than light travel. Um,
Right.
Something like Exodus propulsion would be you're still constrained by the speed of light, but you're no longer constrained as much by the tyranny of the rocket equation. Because right now, like in order to send any amount of mass from one place to another in space, it takes an exponentially larger amount of propellant in order to do that. But
Right. Gotcha.
if you were able to change it so that you're just like using electricity on some sort of a device, and then it moves the whole ship without having to eject any mass, then you can potentially do all sorts of crazy stuff. And there's been tons of really good fiction to that effect too. Like Gundam does a bunch with it. The Expanse was I wasn't a huge fan, but a lot of people stand by it. And then I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, Ender's Game, the Ender Saga.
Okay. Right. What was the movie with Chris Pratt? He was asleep and accidentally wakes up, and then he wakes.
Um, with Jennifer Lawrence, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
Passengers,
that's a good one.
right? Something like that.
What was it?
Passengers.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, because they were traveling like half the speed of light or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that's fun. So, all right. So that kind of clean energy kind of possible. Let's see what happens.
Well,
I guess the only problem.
it requires something that would violate our current understandings of physics, but there's holes in that as it stands anyway. So
Holes in the laws or holes in their
things that
ideas to
don't
make it.
things where measurement doesn't match up with what our math is telling us.
Like we know that the theories are good in generalities, but in these cases they don't quite fit.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Right.
Like there's
Nice.
a whole Wikipedia page of like unsolved problems in physics.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's stuff that like you kind of have to know a bit in order to be able to like understand what's going on, of like what certain things mean. But once you have that understanding, it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. It's kind of like the speed of sound back in the 40s or 30s. There's nothing faster than the speed of sound. Yeah. Okay. Just give Chuck Yeager a few years. He'll come around and help you.
Well, with the speed of sound, just as an example, there were a whole bunch of like physics, like fluids stuff that we didn't know about and didn't understand until we started playing around with that.
Mm-hmm. And then you have, what was it, the X1 that did it first? On the records.
I don't recall who did it first.
See, that was Anyhow, I believe it. It was just cool. It reminded me of the SR-71.
Mm-hmm.
So I am at worship. I got a bail.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun hanging out.
And to you, always appreciate, always a pleasure, Ron. Thank you for stopping by.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Mark S. in the 30s, they literally believed there was nothing faster than a Model T. I don't. I'm a little skeptical of that.
What about a Model T driving on top of a Model T?
It's Model T's all the way up.
I have played a little bit of this game called Colony Ship,
Mhm.
and it's a
You'll be going in under cover of
isometric
darkness.
RPG
Be
that
ready for anything.
oh, it's a bunch of people from Earth who have basically gone on a ship to like colonize another world,
Mhm.
and there's like a whole society set up on the ship, basically there to maintain, normalcy until you arrive. And so there's a lot of dynamics, and there's actually like a lot of religious, like Christian religious dynamics going on. And it's pretty interesting. Like and different like factions that are fighting there, and what are the goals to maintain, the culture that you want to have when you reach the destination and everything.
Independent mercenary.
Yeah, there's some crazy stories out there of like
There and get to work.
crews on ships having issues and then lots of people getting murdered.
Mhm.
Leave no evidence.
I don't think it's super common, but it's definitely a thing.
In this case, the ship is so big that there are like multiple city scale like areas in the ship. And so there's like mutinies, but the mutinies will be at the city level and not at the like ship level. And the ship is like controlled by AI or something like that. It like has locked itself up.
Wipe them out. 621.
I'm just telling them, hey, decide this amongst yourselves. Our job is just to get you guys there.
Yep.
Ethan, I'm really good at finding flaws in what people thought 100 years ago. It's one of my strengths.
2 repair kits remaining.
Did that hit me? I guess it makes sense that it hit me. Oh, right. Sit on the ground for a second. Oh,
Oh,
what are you? Comms record extracted from wreck. Evidence of independent mercenaries sharing intelligence with one another. Looks like the PCA inspectors are on the move. Make sure the 4 know. As for the other corpos, well, Melanite and Takigawa don't seem too ambitious. All they care about is selling their products. Furlong, though, they're pretending to be neutral, but you know those crafty foxes would never make a move out in the open.
whoa. What's all this fox slander?
I will not have my people disrespected in this way. Oh, gosh darn it.
AP at 30%.
Completely avoidable. Does that? Oh wow, that was...
Confirmed. Enemy squad destroyed. Move on to the next area.
How low of ammunition does this thing have? This sonic cannon thing.
Is it already out?
I mean, it feels like it's decreasing pretty quickly. Okay, come on. I can use commands. I can navigate things. Come on, mech.
There should be a jump pad if you really need it.
Oh, is there?
Usually, they're pretty forgiving with like not being able to mount very high vertical obstacles.
One
Okay.
repair kit remaining.
I mean, doing the what is it? The assault. This thing.
Where did that AC come from? What happened to the patrol squad?
Yeah, not everybody has like crazy control over that later on. Yeah, so I think you have infinite ammo for the laser one.
Okay.
It just has to reset every time you use it.
Okay, because it has like 371.
Oh, I'm seeing that now. I thought it went back to 400 after a while, but maybe
Okay.
I'm
I'll use it some
because there's
more,
no
we'll see.
lower one, right? It's not out of anything, which is why I
No,
was
yeah.
saying that. Also, dashing slashers in chat.
Oh, howdy, Slasher. You're coming to Cabin Con, right?
Code 31C, we've taken critical
I probably shouldn't push right as soon as you come into chat. But I can't help myself.
Updating your marker data.
Okay.
Proceed in the direction indicated.
Ugh. Yeah, I know Ethan was just joking, but that is something that I find kind of funny and frustrating, is how many people
That's the watch point's control
are like,
center.
oh, those people back then, they're so stupid, they didn't understand XYZ. It's like, yeah, because we had to figure out XYZ. Like, it's not like that was just always known.
Or even further than that, like I don't know. I have pretty firm opinions on the whole. Was it, who was put on trial? Was it Galileo?
Taking a watch point.
Uh,
You're in cordial
Copernicus? Or it might
Was
have
it
been Galileo.
Copernicus?
It
I
was
think it
one
might
of
have
the
been
two.
Copernicus because it was earlier. I think.
dogs must I kill
And the
before
argument was basically like, you know, if we reset everything, like, first of all, we don't have as much information on all this, so it needs to be verified. And there's a little bit of that going on. And there's also the element of like, if we just follow everything to the end, like we need to kind of figure out what that means. How does that change our thoughts on everything else?
Right Hand Ammunition Act. First
Of course, that's if somebody said that to me, I would probably say the opposite too. Like, no, it's more important to know.
another dead dog. Was it worth it, Walter? Their blood is on your hands.
This game gives me motion sickness in a way that I don't think I've experienced since Katamari Damacy.
That is a good comparison.
That game made me so sick. That was terrible fight, Slasher. I don't know if it, like, I think it was just not having the right weapons. I mean,
Yeah, it might be good to switch it out, and then if you can't do it otherwise, then
yeah. Because I'm also trying to think like like maybe shotgun would be better, and then because like this one didn't, like the active homing, it just moves too slow.
yeah.
So I'm wondering.
I honestly think the vert missiles were doing relatively well.
Well, they weren't hitting him hardly though.
That's fair. I thought they were hitting more of the time, but maybe I was misremembering.
Well, they were like, they kept landing like right behind him, was what I was saying.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any splash damage that was actually hitting him. Also, Luke says that AI is not helping him find the Chris Green clip. I
Haters.
think you'd have to like, oh, what was the one site? Because he like I don't Chris Green's not on the thislittlecorner.net, but there's another site. I forget where I put it in the Broken Clock Tower. Let me look real quick. Might be in research. But there's a website that kind of does what thislittlecorner.net does, but for broader YouTube, and like lets you like, and you can do it per channel as well, searching for certain things. Argo doesn't post very often. Nope, that's not coming up. Gosh, I don't want to do for this for too long, but I'm trying to. Maybe it was research. Yes, there we go. Filmot. I'll post this in chat. Give that a shot. Might be able to help you out. Guy who watches this and does not comment on the video game at all. What a dick. I mean, that's kind of like the point of this is more just to have a place for folks to come and hang out. So, like, the game is fun for me and fun for the people who want to play it, but the point is more just the socialization aspect of it. So.
This is the gaming couch.
Yeah. Different than the casting couch.
Yes, very, very different. Actually, probably not even close to the same in any regard at all.
Very different. And Slasher says, it's all good. I'm the guy who only comments on the game and not the philosophy. See? All sorts of people.
It's a place for everyone.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's try this again. Mark S. Video game. Burgers.
See that? That's the watch point's control center.
All right.
The target's inside. Make your way in.
Let's see how this goes.
Attacking a watch point. You're incorrigible, Handler Walter.
So we're trying to get in closer.
Dogs must I kill before
So
you
that way I can hit him
learn?
with the shotgun.
Is that
Sua? Pitiful dog. I feel sorry for you. I really do.
Oh, did I not change out my left shoulder missile launcher? That's frustrating.
Different master.
C1249? Sua. He's an independent mercenary who survived first gen.
See, Luke, you're getting it.
Don't think twice, 621. Kill him before he kills you.
2 repair kits.
I'm trying to...
50%.
Yeah, this is not working.
Where's 619 and 620? Dead?
Not working at all.
Did I kill, I wonder?
Shotgun is challenging.
Focus.
AP at 30%.
Although, actually, okay. No, I'm starting to get it. Okay. Yeah, no, this is okay. Okay.
1 repair kit remaining.
Where the frick did he go? There we go. Oh, did I miss him being stunned? That's annoying.
30%. No repair kits remaining. AP at 50%.
Just took a fat one to the face.
AP at 30%.
Did he get stuck? Yep, he did. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's like, am I gonna be able to just, like, do some cheese here?
Auto Gen 4's lot. I hear you make fine hounds with the right training.
Yeah, I need to swap out my other missile launcher.
That dog. Was it worth it, Walter? Their blood is on your hands.
Yeah. I mean, the other part of it, too, though, is that I find that there's a lot of stuff, like, the whole point of a lot of topics that I'm talking about, are, like, I think that there's a lot of really useful exaptation that can come out of video games to help people understand things more effectively about real life. So, because there's been a bunch of times where I've been able to really nicely weave in what I'm actively doing in the game with the concept that I'm trying to explain or elaborate on. So, Oh, no. Assembly first. Do I want to stick with it, or do I want to go to the submachine? Yeah, go back to submachine gun. We'll try the 8 cells. See if that works. Mark S. just realized interactive AI video games of the future. Maybe, maybe not. The thing that you don't really see until you've played games at a decently high level is that bots can't reliably beat humans. Like, it's really hard to program a bot that can beat the best human at a particular thing.
And then also you have like the sense in which, you know, the stories, like procedurally generated stories or characters. I mean, people have been trying with what we have right now, like implementing that into like Skyrim or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you can only do so much before you reach a point where it would just be easier if somebody was doing it themselves.
Yep. And I find that the same is probably true of something like drawing something in CAD, where it's going to be faster and easier to just do whatever it is yourself, because especially like the simplest way of explaining it is to just draw it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I can definitely see cases in which you would get some assistance, maybe, and there could be some uses for like if you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again, like there are ways to automate those things,
yep,
potentially, and make those easier to deal with.
Yep.
But I think those are kind of a second level thing.
Yep. Well, the other thing that AI is really helpful for, or like, not like the large language models, but the just neural networks more generally, is that you get, if you know how to interpret the output, you can basically tutor yourself. Like, learning chess, for instance. You can learn chess way faster having an AI pointing out the simple mistakes that you're making. Of like, why can't I make this move? And then it shows you the sequence that comes after that move. It's like, oh yeah, that's why you can't make that move. That makes more sense.
I think there are things where, at the very highest levels, though, where a machine will be playing against like somebody like Magnus Carlsen. There are just moves that it's making that are just so out there, and like, you know, they're 5 levels thinking through things that further than any person would normally even consider.
Well, and there's also like the way that they've described it, or like Magnus Carlsen and other high-level chess people, is that you have moves that are like, oh, a human being wouldn't think of that. That is very clearly like an AI move.
Well, and that's like you were saying before too, with like the reason why AIs in games get so complicated is because like something like this is not like chess.
No.
Like chess is super constrained and is turn-based, and those two things will make everything way easier to make an AI for. And as soon as you kind of expand the variables, it just gets harder and harder and harder to keep up.
Yep. Well, and the other thing, so one of the really concerning things, or I say concerning, because Luke mentioned, is like the other thing that AI is helpful for, friendship. It's like, Not really, but there is an unreasonable effectiveness of AI at doing very simple talk therapy. Because like a lot of people just are not self-aware enough to, like, if you just ask simple questions back to them, or like ask the last three words that they said in a sentence, and then you just ask like for a clarification, right? Was that you posting that on Twitter, or where did I see that? It was either you or Matt Skankenstein, I think.
Wait, what was the example again?
That if you like Kojima was able to do a whole bunch of exposition by just having Snake be a stand-in for the player and then just ask simple clarifying questions.
It was probably Skankenstein, but it's
Yeah.
talking about how like Snake in a conversation will just ask, like, somebody will say something and it'll just pick out a word
Yep.
in the sentence and just say, word. Psychomantis.
Psychomantis.
Destroy the device in the center.
And yeah, I know that you're trolling, Luke, but the trolling actually is pointing at something that's a useful topic of conversation.
I mean, we do have people in the corner who are talking about AI being
Excuse me.
a tool for friendship.
No, Matt found that on either YouTube or Twitter. Yeah.
Good job.
And so, well, and it's frustrating too, because like on the one hand, it's not great that somebody's being reliant on AI for that, but at the same time, like, if that's all that they really need, like, you want to make sure that they're not attributing more
621.
to the AI than it needs to be attributed to it. But like, that's actually kind of good if they don't like project more onto it than they ought to have something as a resource that's just giving them a mental reminder of like, hey, have you actually thought about this properly? Have you thought about this properly?
I think the tough part is a little bit of
Fourth generation.
I don't know. I'll just say it up front about I'm pointing at a little bit of what Sartori has been working on, and in a sense, it feels like he's trying to undo Tower of Babel kind of stuff, where all the disconnection that we have with one another via language. Like his hope is that AI or LLMs will bridge that gap. That our LLMs can talk to each other. Like I have a personal one and you have a personal one, and they talk to each other, and then they can serve as translation between us to have us better understand one another.
Or we can just learn each other's language.
And I'm just super skeptical of that. That sounds like I don't know.
I think that's
that idea kind of gives me the ick a little bit, but
I think it's misdiagnosing the problem. Like, it's not that we need to create something, well, one, that we need to create something that can do that, or two, that AI would even be able to
Raven,
satisfy or, like,
I've identified
make that
an
work.
approaching enemy.
Because that would be where I'm kind of skeptical, is like, and I'm just going to intentionally die here so I can get my,
And maintain contact to support
my armaments switched out. But,
system.
yeah, if the goal is for me to properly understand somebody else,
It's an autonomous
then yes, I can potentially use something as a tool to properly understand them. But even then, like, language is a tool. Like, we're already doing that with language. Like, even if I speak the same language as somebody else, I could have a very different understanding of, and we run into this problem all the time, I have a different understanding of a word than somebody else does. And so when I say that word, like, the encoding that I'm doing is being decoded differently by that person. And like, you still have to have, like, there's now, instead of having that be a potential issue between people, you've now added two more failure points by like, if my AI isn't understanding what I'm saying, or their AI isn't understanding what my AI is saying, or they're not understanding what their AI is saying. Like, yeah.
There
It's-
also is an assumption that they themselves are, you know, the example he used indirectly was basically trying to understand like Twitter schizos,
Okay.
and part of me is just like, you
Why are
know,
you trying to understand his Twitter skills?
there is this kind of assumption that, you know, and I okay, personalism. Everybody, you know, is worthwhile, and you know they're their own individual people. But maybe it's not in your best interest to give attention to certain people who are obviously, you know, not in a good spot, and who are actively antagonistic. You know, it's not your job to kind of fix that for other people.
Well, maybe not, but it's kind of one of those like, how and where do you want to spend your time and attention? Because there might be some instances where it's like, oh, I could just say this thing and that might help to wake this person up, just or even just having the humility to realize like I'm not going to be the straw that breaks every camel's back. So oftentimes it's just going to be I'm going to be somebody who is putting just a little bit more weight on the scale for this person in a particular direction. Intentionally dying how Christ-like, not Christ-like at all.
Actually, kind of the opposite, but
Yeah.
Chesterton gets into that, but
It's, the bad martyring, the bad version of martyring oneself. And then Skank earlier, Estuary is the better friendship training wheels than AI. And I agree with that generally. The trouble is that there's constraints on like how much time individuals can spend with other individuals. And so the idea is hopefully you can like I can have relationships with other people, and then they have the relationships with the other people in their life, and then they have relationships with the people in their life, and the friendship training wheels kind of grow out that way. But if you have somebody who is frustrated by where they're at and they don't have people in their life, or like they don't have enough of the time or attention from the other people in their life, then they can maybe learn some things from AI, but there's also the possibility that they're going to learn the wrong lessons from AI, especially if they get accustomed to having everything being sycophantically glazed back at them. So speaking a language is not encoding and decoding. It's not just that, but there is so much encoding and decoding that goes into language speaking. Like it's so second nature because of the fact that we are just used to doing it. But yeah, no, it's not. I think we take for granted the amount of complexity that's present when we just speak to each other.
I think a lot of this comes down to like the desire to know and to be known. And I don't know, like I there have been many times in my life where like I'm so kind of paralyzed by the idea of like something being limited and to miss out on something that I miss out on everything in the process. It's the, you know, what's better, the two birds in the bush or the bird in your hand already.
Yep.
Main system reactivating combat.
And trying to find a way to, you know, oh, you see how it just chews through that shield?
Yeah, that's much better.
Feels so good.
Much better weapon for this.
You'll have to break its pulse armor to inflict.
No, you are ignoring the connotation element of language entirely. You've got bad linguistic theory, brother.
Connotation element?
Now's your chance, Raven.
Not sure I understand what the...
They're taking the comms link offline for now.
It might be
It's been a while since I've thought about linguistics.
might be more of like an estuary or camp out conversation. Unless you want to hop on and... Oh, man. I'm also just trying not to die.
Use the internet to find orthodoxy and then get off of it.
Yes.
That's what I've been told.
Yes. Agreed.
Someone needs to save Skank from the depths of the semiotic discord.
The enemy has taken heavy damage. Keep it up.
Yeah, I'm also just... I'm coming at it from maybe a different perspective there, too, where it's like... There's a lot of understandings that have been generated. Oh gosh, I could have hit more misses first. There's a lot of understandings that come from... oh, it's okay.
Are you out of ammo?
I'm out of ammo.
Oh.
That's upsetting. But yeah, coming at it from more of like a how do we get computers to do communication properly, and then how do you model something that's a little bit more abstract or arbitrary, like if I have, am I actually just gonna be out of ammunition completely?
Yeah, at this point I think it's a pretty good case for that.
We'll still run through it the best we can. And then, like, so if I'm trying to model the communication between two cells, like I can't understand that as a linguistic communication, or at least, like, language seems to be this incredibly complex elaboration on the very like more simple aspects of like how communication can occur, because communication isn't just something that's mediated by language, or at least that there's, I think, a lot more. If you say that you can only communicate with language, then you have to pull things into your understanding of what language can be. That I don't. It's you have to start including things that aren't words when you say language then, and I don't know if that's a really useful
Well, we use body
way of
language.
understanding it.
It's like another kind of sense in which you're communicating, but it's not, purely on the level of,
I'm sorry, but
coding and decoding. App needs to hang more with the semiotic discord.
No, thank you.
But I think you might need to play some more Metal Gear Solid V.
I do need to play the Metal Gear Solid series. Like, that's the other thing, by the way, of like why I think games are so good and important, and why they should be part of our like shared canon, is there are so many, like, I really, really wish Neil was willing to finish playing Undertale, because there's so much packed into that experience that, in terms of like how to think about yourself as someone engaging with a static piece of media. And then, like, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the Nonary games was something that was incredibly impactful for me in terms of how I understand quantum mechanics and multi-worlds theory and Shor's algorithm and stuff like that, and how that could potentially manifest in macroscopic human reality too.
I was saying Metal Gear Solid V mostly because that one deals with language.
Okay.
A major kind of component of that game is are these parasites that are trained to specifically target people who speak a specific language as a way of eliminating like specific cultures or groups of people, or to actually target the ideas themselves, because those ideas are being communicated, or culture is communicated in a particular language.
Okay. Yeah, that's another fascinating thing too, is the fact that, like, depending on the structures of a language, certain things will always be communicated, and certain things won't be communicated, and certain like the gendered nature of particular nouns or pronouns, or I think there's like in Chinese like 8 different ways to refer to a cousin, depending on like which side of which family they're on. And like it's a different word for each one. So you like in order to properly speak, you have to be very specific and convey way more information than you would have to in English, where you say, "Oh yeah, my cousin."
I think there's also the element of too, right? Like, even though we have translations of famous authors like Murakami or Dostoevsky, like all these people, like how much can a translation actually communicate? Like, in a sense, we are doing our best to communicate either the spirit or as close as we can to the literal, or whatever in between.
Yep.
But translation is a really tricky business, and there's something about like ideas live within particular languages, and we try our best to kind of move them out of that, especially when people are multiple or bilingual.
I don't know that they're as tightly constrained as that, though. Like, there's definitely things that are more easily communicated in certain languages than others, but I feel like that's more just a consequence of certain languages not having encountered certain concepts and therefore not needing to have integrated them yet.
And I'm saying less ideas and more pieces of art is kind of what I'm trying to get trying to communicate better. Like, in a sense where it's like any version of Hamlet that's not in English is not really Hamlet, right? No matter how good it is. Like,
there's something to the fact that it's an iambic pentameter that you can't, yeah.
And to the extent of which, like, if a translation is really good in another language, in a sense, it's a different piece of art. Right? It's a piece of art that's almost like an adaptation. It might be closer to an adaptation.
No, that's fair.
Than the actual thing. Less the ideas. I'm pretty firm on the idea. Like, any idea can be communicated in any language to a certain amount, just with different levels of complexity based off of the structures of that language that allow for it.
Well, I think, and this is, by the way, like I would need to engage more with them. I'm just not terribly interested. But one of the main things that I had as like a takeaway from the brief interactions that I have had with the semiotics crew is that they seem to have a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of words, because English is such a well-developed language. Most of the time when you are encountering a concept, you are encountering it through a word that has already been established for it. Like, you hear the word and then you get the explanation of the concept that's sitting behind the word. And when you do that too much, you start to get to a point where you think that that's just how everything is, and you don't understand that the reason why those things have set into such a solid foundation is because of all of the work that was done by so many other people that came before. And so, like in order to establish a word for a concept, the people who originally did that encountered the concept and then put a word to that concept. And so, like, you're fine with understanding it the previous way when you're working through mapped territory, but the moment that you start to get to the boundaries of the fringes, like, you now have to start thinking in things that are beyond language and then bringing them back in to that language.
There's a very bizarre sense in which, like, we're all encountering ideas, like, I think way faster and more mass than any other person before has.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think back to these cases in which Europeans are hearing about rhinoceroses for the first time. And their concept is like they're trying to find a way to communicate what a rhinoceros is. They're like, I'm trying to remember, but it's something like, it's basically like, this is a behemoth. Like, this is like kind of like a horse, but like way bigger and fatter and gray and like armored and as a horn. And it's almost like a unicorn, but it's, like, and you can try to like keep going for it, but like, it's weird that we have pictures. We're just like, oh no, that's just a rhinoceros. Like there's not like the connection. The connections don't have to be made as much. We can just have something exist by itself.
Well,
And
but the
yeah.
thing is that like you can't, and to kind of like this ties in with what Skank said about language as a body of ideas, and the same idea in a different body is a different thing. Like your understanding of what a rhinoceros is, like it does exist in relation to the thing itself, but it also exists in that it exists in relation to every other animal that you're aware of. Like
Hmm.
there's
Yeah,
this
you're right.
this body of words or concepts that you are familiar with that are, and the other thing, like the, and this is kind of a weird one. Like yes, we're both speaking English, and we probably have a pretty equivalent vocabulary. So most of the things that I'm going to say, you're going to be able to understand. But in a very technical way, I think that you could accurately argue that every individual person speaks their own language, or at least like every pair of people has their own language. And for most cases, it's that like that is the same language, or like you can communicate the same concepts between lots and lots of different people. But like okay, hang on, let me embarrass myself. Um, I have to like, so when I'm saying goodnight to my wife, I'm like, no you. What did I just say?
You just told me. Good night, right?
Well, like, that's part of me saying goodnight. No you.
Hmm.
Like what is that? What is that? What collapsing did I just do into a different phoneme than is represented within the language more broadly?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like
I,
yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
more
collapsing I
individualized,
love
right?
you
Yeah.
into Naya. Like it's, but, and if somebody heard us talking in context, they'd probably be able to deduce that that's what I was saying, or that like
Mhm.
that was, but like language changes and morphs in surprising ways when it isn't like ossified.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing before I lose it. Written English and spoken English are two different languages that exist parallel to each other. Howdy,
What is
Matt.
up?
It's windy. See if I can find space that doesn't antagonize my microphone too much.
Mm-hmm. You're
I
fine right now, so
Yeah, you we can't hear it over Discord, so
yep.
Keep going with the nice stuff for a second while I kind of catch my legs here. But I've been listening for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm curious what you think about that last part that I just said of like written English and spoken English are actually two different languages that exist in parallel with each other and do a lot of crosstalk, but that they're actually like two separate things.
mhm.
Two separate things. Hmm.
Well, and I think the tough part is like
I mean, maybe
spoken
like writing is a
spoken doesn't survive very long.
technological extension.
Mm.
Um, and maybe in the same way in something like AI, where it is an artificial, uh, yeah, like extension, codification. It's sort of like it freezes the spoken word,
Hmm.
and it also, by nature of the fact that it's on a piece of paper, it has far less context than a word does in when it is spoken. Like
Mm.
you don't have tone of voice. You yeah, all the things that we're used to relying on in interpersonal speech
Mm-hmm.
are not present. So you have to change how you communicate the language through writing
Mm-hmm.
in order to communicate perfectly.
Well, and the other part of it, like this was something that like lives rent free in my head. There was some anthropologist that was went to some like book club convention thing, and one of the really interesting phenomena that she observed, like normally if somebody says something wrong and somebody corrects their pronunciation, that person will get really offended of like that's a really big social faux pas for you to do that. But at that convention, somebody would say a word and mispronounce it, and somebody else would be like, "Oh, that's pronounced this way," and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, thank you," because they were all such bookworms that they regularly encountered situations where they would read a word and they would think that it was pronounced a certain way, and then like they'd encounter that word over and over and over again in the book, and then it wasn't until they actually
Yeah.
like spoke it out loud and to somebody else that did know how to pronounce it. Like that's kind of what I'm getting at of like you can read a word and not actually know how that word is spoken. And you can speak a word and not know how that word is written.
Yes. 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 I feel like that's a different thing. That's just dealing with pronunciation, knowing how the word lives on the page versus how it lives in the voice and body.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, they're not
hmm.
quite separate, but yeah. But I don't think that most people think of the written language and the spoken language as in any way like there's like no separation between them in most people's minds. And the point I was just trying to make is like there's some separation. It's not like a completely different language in the same way that like English and French are different languages, but they're not
Mhm.
like completely one to one overlap.
I, I, I guess we'd have to kind of ask like what the language is.
Mm. Or what is
Uh,
language?
yeah, or what is language?
Mm.
Yeah, no, I feel like the thing you're kind of getting at is sort of like how language develops, how language evolves. The fact that language is, in some sense, a living thing that's always undergoing change. And so, like, I missed like the last bit when you're talking about how you use "nayu" with your wife.
Mm.
But in some sense, it sounds like that is a word that, and I don't know like the word and kind of like in its original language, but that is something that has through the specific uses between the two of you
Mm.
that that is so freighted with a personal uh meaning between your specific dialogue that is not shared outside of the two of
Yep. Well, it's not
you.
a separate language. It's just like this weird, like in the same sort of a way that you'll have things that like crop up whenever you're in. Actually, no, that's not even a good explanation. It's like you have like a cutesy way of saying something, and then it just like slowly like shifts and morphs a little bit. Like it's "I love you," but "naya," like it's like if you take those phonemes and then you just like soften them and compact them and compress them, like it can turn into that.
Mhm.
So it's not that it's a different language. It's just it's like the babyfied like rather than like hard distinct words. Like "I love you" is like we represent it as three different words in English, but it's really like one core concept. Like it's this feeling, this emotion of connection with another person. Like it is a single word
Mhm.
in some way, or a single like conceptual entity that you could describe with a single word if you wanted to.
Yeah, like you could almost describe it as sort of like slang where
Yeah.
you've like specifically developed the language in a specific way.
Yep.
um, in this case it's just between two people, but it also happens in small groups, in larger groups, and there is like I guess like the rules of evolution take place, are the thing it's kind of subjected to survival pressures
Yep.
of like how effective is it at escaping containment within its original kind of relational housing, and does it catch fire in the broader culture at large?
Yep.
And
It.
also, I think, and again, to get at what you're talking about, how like languages, what is that saying? Like language is more than just coding and decoding.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, like it's so there's we talk about words. There's two kind of like big concepts, or like what words denote versus what words connote.
Okay.
So denotation, that's the thing the word is pointing at. That's, I think, what's covered by coding and encoding. It's sort of when I'm pointing at that rock over there, or using words to get you to find the same rock I'm looking at in the speech I'm at right now. That's when we're mostly focused on the denotative. Like it's connotation is all of the different kind of I don't know like emotional housing that comes with the words as a result of the layers of meaning they have received through their use in the culture.
Mm.
And the thing is, you can't. I don't know. It's part of like a perpetual frustration with philosophers is that they're trying. We're just trying to do like nerdy math logic talk, and everybody keeps stealing the words they use, and so there's this frustration because there's no pure word.
When you and I do have to get off in a little bit so I can go pick up my wife, but um, you have like language exists as this way of intermediating between concept spaces. So like I have like I might be thinking primarily in words, but what's actually like I think if you get like down into the guts of it, there's like concepts that are existing in my mind that while I might be using words as a framework or a structure to like hold that concept up or hold it together, that the concept exists prior to the words themselves. And so you are taking that concept, you are turning it into words, you are speaking those words, and then the decoding is that other person's understanding. Like, and you can encode, or part of the encoding process is understanding the denotations and connotations of the words that you're using, and then that gets then pulled back apart by the other person, and then ideally what they will when they open that package back up again, it'll be the same concept space thing that you put into the package of words in the first place.
Yes, but I know. For me, the glory of language is that there's never a pure packing and unpacking. There's never 100% success rate.
Yep.
Yeah, like never, ever, 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 ever. And things like,
Well,
yeah.
actually, I don't know about that.
I mean, for me, that's, well,
like what one
okay,
plus one
maybe if you're
equals two
talking,
is an icon.
maybe if
Sorry.
you're talking stuff like that. But for me, like part of sort of like this is a mild tangent here, but you'll hear like judicial activists go on and on about how human beings are terrible at remembering. It's awful. It's awful. You know, we can rewrite and recode our memories, and it's horrendous. And I'm like, that's actually like part of me is like, no, this is a feature, not a bug, because to my mind, this like, speaks to the fact that it speaks to our mutability in a good way. Like
Mm-hmm.
people that can remember and can recode old events are people that can forget.
Yeah.
That is through the work of kind of confession, description, understanding, going through, going over. We can take, say, like an interpersonal betrayal, and through interpersonal exchange of words, it can transform.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that also, like I use that example just because I think it's also part of this whole. There's no pure transferal 100% of meaning from one person to another, except in very specialized cases.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's good. That mutability, change, development is kind of baked into our interactions with one another.
Mm-hmm.
It forces dependence on one another. It's a recognition that no one person's perspective is total, and even mishearings can become really creative and productive.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book about a theology of mistranslations in the Bible, sort of the productive way that poor translations have helped to develop language. I haven't actually read it yet, but just the idea I think is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
How even translations that we would look at now and be like, that's a bad, like we just didn't have access to all the data.
Mm-hmm.
And that lack of access meant we had to get like a 60% accurate or an 80% accurate word. And the world just like, that particular church or community just had to live with that poor translation for generations and generations. And they did things with it, and they developed on the basis of that. And they learned things that enabled them to think things that could not have been thought if they had an accurate translation.
Mm-hmm. the one issue there, though, like sometimes you like the house shifts and it shifts into a more stable position, but I think more often than not, that you end up like you didn't realize that the concrete slab that your house is on top of sand, and like I think that ends up being more destable. Like unless somebody like understands the limitations of language already, it can be very destabilizing for somebody to have put their faith on a particular thing and then go and like they like read the original Greek and it's like, wait a second, that's not what I understood that to be. And like if that was some load bearing part of their faith or understanding, that like that's one of the things that I really want to try and help people avoid is
Welcome
not,
to the Reformation.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't want people killing each other over like that kind of nonsense.
It's I don't want to be so fatalistic to say like the killing is going to happen regardless, and sometimes don't always blame the excuses we make for the killing, but
Yeah.
that is the like a lot of times things like these are the proximate cause and our linguistic misunderstandings force our inability to live at peace with one another to the fore that is deeper than just our conceptual difference.
Yep. Well, and part of that too is that you have bad actors who are going to try and use whatever wedges that they have available to be driven.
Yeah.
It's
But back to go ahead for a second.
okay. Because one of the things too that like it's not just like that concepts pre-exist language, but intent pre-exists language too. In terms of like what things do people want, what outcomes are they going after, and then especially if somebody is engaging in a way where they're using words not to convey truth but to compel action, they are going to like say whatever they need to say in order to get somebody else to do what they want them to do.
Yeah, I know. Part of the thing I think we're just keep bumping up against is I'm of the opinion that language mediates all of these things. It mediates concepts, it mediates intents, and it's just so. I mean, Hermes is the fastest of the gods. He runs back and forth, to and fro, here and there, everywhere. And so it's just language is just so mixed up in all of it that I don't think we can actually, in the age of decay, like cleanly separate language from concept, language from intent. The things are housed and coded, and how we speak can inflame intent, and it can also draw back intent. I mean, like James talking about the tongue is the fire and stuff like that.
Well, and I think that is generally true, that like because so much of our mental architecture nowadays is held up by language, that you're not gonna really get away from that. But I also think that there's a lot of possibility of recognizing how and where and when language is functioning as an icon, and learning to see the thing behind the thing, that the like if I say like starting a fire, there's so much actual real physical stuff that is very tightly compacted inside of that. And like that's another like I really want to at some point do like fire making 102 with you, because you did a good job covering the fire triangle the other day. But there's stuff that, and it's so frustrating to me because there's so much good information that I learned about how to really make a fire well from advanced chemical engineering classes that could absolutely be brought down to the layman level. And I don't see that happening anywhere. And it's like,
I well aware it's not the fire triangle, it's the fire like quadrilateral or something, because there's also a necessary chemical reaction.
well,
But
the chemical reactions being produced by the oxygen, the heat, and the fuel. Like that is the three things that you need. But in terms of understanding, like how do you get proper flow? How do you understand like how to get something hot? And then
Yes. Oh my
like
gosh, dude.
there's complexity there.
Yeah, because that was definitely again. This is me just that was me just kind of like clearly like riffing, pulling what I knew out of my butt. Um, Aside from gathering my tools, not especially like linguistically well prepared, and going from brute force, this will get you warm to okay, let's talk about fire as art, which sounds like what you're getting at, which absolutely do.
Mhm. Yeah. The
Um,
yeah. Okay, that might just be a fundamental divide then, because and I don't know how you would necessarily resolve that of whether concepts can pre-exist language or by the mere like would your position be like by the mere engagement with a concept that like that first touch automatically creates language? Is that
um, I think I guess like philosophically,
hmm?
and I let Parlato know we're talking linguistics on your channel,
Yeah,
so
I
he
see
can go
that.
later and
I'm
read
sorry that we're
all
not
of our.
responding as much to your comments, Parlato.
But again, like when we're talking conceptual, we're trying to get at things that are more, uh, I guess, eternal, things that exist in the intellect.
Mm,
And the thing is, we don't have pure access to those things because we are decaying bodies, we're speaking bodies, and so all of our attempts to touch those bring them into the age of decay. And again, we don't have that pure access to the concepts, which is why guys like Perlado and Semiotics Bros are so focused on things like grammar,
mm,
about being careful to develop as much virtue, as much skill in thinking clearly,
yep.
speaking according to agreed upon rules, so that the chance of the meaning trade off is much more effective.
Mm,
It's
mm.
yes, the semiotics bros are the guys that have the container repair spray with them on hand at all times to fix the boxes before they deliver them to the.
Yeah. And I think I co-sign generally with that. But I don't know. There's, and I think this is born a lot out of my own educational background in terms of like heavy focus on science, heavy focus on math.
Mhm.
Like the way that I think about those sorts of things, I can say confidently is not linguistic, and I don't really know how to convey. Like I know how to use language to take the concept space and
Mhm.
kind of like what I was saying during the stream, like linearize that into language in such a way that when it gets pulled in, decoded, and interpreted by another person, that will help them to recreate that same concept space in their mind. But
Mhm.
the thing that I'm giving to them is not fundamentally linguistic. It's something else. At least that's how I
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah. I once worked for a warehouse company, and sort of in my after I gave my 2 weeks notice, my last 2 weeks were just it was all spent writing up kind of technical manuals for all the procedures I was solely responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And that is again, that's a very specific kind of linguistic job where you're trying to create a document that does its best job to explicate all of the things that I tacitly knew through my experience doing these processes for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And it's just is an insanely cumbersome linguistic project because again, you're trying to focus purely on denotation.
Yep.
It means you need to be really, really aware of all of the possibilities for misconstrual,
Yep.
um, and account for them. So it was just a really obnoxious 2 weeks. It's so cumbersome because it's just like you feel almost insulting how kind of ponderous your language is because you have to treat them like they're idiots just to cover all of the ground.
Yep. Well, and a big part of that too is like if you're making an SOP for a work person, the way that you do that is you take tons and tons of screenshots.
That's also what I did. A lot
Yep.
of screenshots, a lot of click this button here when this happens,
Yep.
uh, and then also recognizing that as soon as the software updates, fuck you.
It no longer looks the same, and so now you're not going to be able to find the thing. Hooray!
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Your job is to write the holy scriptures as the techno priest.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Praise the Messiah.
Yeah, have you ever read Leviticus? That's what I was doing. I was writing Leviticus.
Gosh. All right. Well, it's been great, guys, but I do need to get going. So,
Have a good drive.
yep. Thanks everybody else for chiming in, and it's been good to see you, Matthew. You should have come on.
No idea what your
Would've been fun.
stream was about, but you definitely kicked over a great topic that everybody in TLC is got opinions on, and they've thought about it in their different ways.
Mhm.
Like if we got more grow countries on here, it'd be a very different kind of interesting conversation.
Yep.
I threw in the comments that no, we should play Phantom Pain and read
Oh.
Barfield.
I'd be up for it.
Mixing and mashing.
I
like it.
I mean, no, that's the thing, and again, like this is me and Noah sitting here just being like, there is so much gold locked into these video games that nobody wants to play.
Well, because video games are their own language. Like, I think it's Daryl Does Games is the YouTube channel. Some either him or somebody in that same content sphere, like having your wife or your girlfriend who doesn't play games try and play stuff, and then like see what their reactions are and see how they engage with and understand what it is that they're looking at. Yeah,
The non-motion stick.
I got to shout out also my favorite pronatalist YouTube channel.
Wait, what? Who's your favorite pronatalist YouTube channel?
It's
No. You cut out as soon as you said it, which made it funny.
Girlfriend Reviews.
Yeah, girlfriend reviews.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a girlfriend who's a backseat gamer, watches her boyfriend play video games, and then sometimes she gets to play too, and it's this wonderful, like on the one hand, like outsider's perspective on video games from somebody who's not a player, but he's also generously welcoming her into his world.
Yep.
It's just a delight to watch them share a space where they don't share the common language. And I mean, it's been going for like six years. It was like a COVID project initially because they had a lot of time on their hands. And it's just, it's delightful content. They had a fantastic review of The Last of Us Part 2. It's just, I think, the gold standard for like criticism, honestly, in a way that's both entertaining and fun and really gets at what it was trying to do. It's great. It's great.
Very nice. I think you've mentioned them before too. Do you want post a link for that in like the Broken Clock Tower or something?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody. It's been fun.
Bye.
Be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow. There we go.